So thank you so much for joining us and for being part of us, especially in the beginning. It's December period, but for those that are in contract management, we understand that we normally use December period to learn, but we also use it to grow. Those that are in the engineering and construction space will understand. So thank you so much for joining us. We saw it fitting that in the next coming episode, we share with you some of the information that will assist you in what you need to prepare so that when you are on break, you can be on break with your family and rest, right? You don't have worries about what claim will come up or what dispute you will need to be dealing with in January if you've done things correctly. I think what we need to understand is the period that we are in is a period where actually most of the claims occur. Yes, it's a period where most of the claims in contract management occur. This is a period where most of the decision makers are not available on site. This is a period where inspections which have been put in on the QCPs to say, here are the whole points, the engineer will come out and inspect, but for whatever reason, the inspections are delayed or the inspections actually don't happen, right? But now, what does that mean? There is poor quality work that might possibly happen, and there will be standing time claims. Because remember, if we've planned an activity and it's supposed to be moving to the following activity, but we have not done the quality inspections, some of the quality inspections will be a whole point, and then it means you need to wait for the engineer to come before you can actually move. But in that period, whatever hours or time that is spent, it's a standing time claim, right? And then we also understand that in the activities that we will be doing in the coming period, we are going to be faced with challenges because most of the logistic companies are closed or will be closed, and then most of the manufacturing companies will also be closed. So it means we need to find ways to review our programs before we actually go on leave, even if we review the critical items to check what activities or what work is planned in this period that might surprise us, right? Because if an activity is planned over the Christmas week, for example, and for some reason the component that was required is not available, it means it's going to shift your program. It's going to cause a slippage in your program. Now, that can result in a claim, that can result in disruptions. So we need to find ways to say, how can we pre-plan, right? We understand that most of the finance team will be closing or will be running on limited staff. So what does this mean for us when we are submitting invoicing? How then does our invoices or invoicing get processed smoothly during this period? How also do we look into our scope of work or any changes that needs to happen in the scope of work in this period? Who will be approving some of those changes? And then also remember, during this period, most of the committees will not be available. I think we also understand that most of the tender committees or most of the claims or variations or compensation committees will be closing, meaning, so in the coming episodes, we'll share real life examples. We'll share some insights into what the NEC says we need to look into, what FIDIC says we need to look into, so that we plan for periods like this and somehow try to reduce the burden of some of the claims that will be coming up definitely, and some of the disputes that will be coming up. Just to mention a few, all of us understand, especially on the NEC, to say if you have a NEC contract, for example, which is based on 10.1, which says mutual trust and collaboration between the parties, and which also says there's a period of reply within the contract, right? So now, if there's a compensation event that will be submitted, or that will be issued, or there's an early warning that will be issued during this period of absence, and somehow it gets missed, or somehow we don't respond to, or somehow we don't put things in place to deal with it, the NEC is clear to say some of those claims can actually be deemed. So what we know, without going into much detail, is each and every compensation event or each and every claim needs to be notified correctly, needs to be assessed correctly, needs to be responded to correctly. However, if you don't respond to these notices, but because you fail to plan for them and they require your approval, and the period of reply, let's say in your contract it's 1 week, or the period of reply in your contract is the 2 weeks, we might come back from leave and then you are sitting with claims that are deemed to be approved or are deemed to be accepted even without your involvement. So we'll be going into more detail as to how do we plan for that, how do we do things correctly, so that we can go and take a break and come back in January and things are still in place and things are still in order and we are in control of our contracts. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you in the episodes, and welcome to our season 1. Thank you so much.